Disclaimer, please don't attempt to eat any of these level maker enemies at home due to the fact that online internet challenges can often involve risky or illegal behavior, serious physical harm, or can lead to poisoning if any of these level maker enemies are consumed. Hello guys, welcome to another Plotagon video, and this time, in today's video, I'll show you how long you would survive after eating each level maker enemy from the level maker app. So guys, to begin this video, let's start with the Ayaba. This enemy in the level maker app is known for its edible buttery liquid that's inside the enemy and is made by heating the butter to remove the water and milk solids that leaves behind pure butter fat, which has a higher smoke point than normal butter, called Ayaba butter according to this level in the Demian Deal 849 level maker account that had this level. And this enemy has an eyeball in the mid part of it. It has a volume of 20 milliliters of edible buttery liquid that you can eat by cutting the top part of the Ayaba. And this level in the Demian Deal 849 level maker account claimed that you can survive 10 days by consuming this buttery liquid in the Ayaba. But it's actually wrong, because according to my research on Google, the buttery liquid in the Ayaba depends on the type of butter, but the primary danger of the Ayaba is that if you consume 3 liters of this buttery liquid with 60,000 milliliters, or 60 liters, of Ayabas, it would result in severe and potentially fatal consequences due to extreme gastrointestinal distress, rapid metabolic stress, and a massive intake of calories and saturated fat, and has immediate severe effects, such as intense vomiting, extreme gastrointestinal distress, explosive diarrhea, significant nausea and pain, and rapid metabolic stress, and can lead to long-term health consequences. And for context, 20 milliliters of buttery liquid is equivalent to 4 teaspoons, and 4 teaspoons of buttery liquid contains 28 grams of saturated fat, since each teaspoon of buttery liquid contains 7 grams of saturated fat, and it's recommended to decrease the saturated fat of the buttery liquid in Ayabas to 6% of total calories. And according to my research on Google, 1 liter of the buttery liquid in Ayabas contains an equivalent of 67 teaspoons if you convert liters to teaspoons, meaning that 3 liters of the buttery liquid in Ayabas contain a staggering 201 tablespoons. Wow! That's a lot of tablespoons of the buttery liquid in Ayabas, and I've never seen that before. So guys, let's move on to the winged snail enemy. This enemy from the level maker series is feathered wings that make the character jump 3 game units high, but here's the danger of consuming this enemy from the level maker series. And according to the how long would you survive after consuming those enemies level in the Demian Deal 849 level maker account, it claims that you would die after 5 seconds from the greenish acidophilus poison from a small parasite if the winged snail enemy is consumed. But here's the truth about consuming this enemy. Eating this enemy from the level maker series is extremely dangerous, and according to my research on Google about it, it can lead to a parasitic infection called lungworm disease or strongylosis, which in rare cases can be fatal, and in severe cases, the parasites get into the brain and cause a range of serious symptoms such as severe headaches and neck stiffness, nausea and vomiting, and a tingling or painful feeling in the skin, and the long-term complications are that the parasites in the central nervous system can cause inflammation and swelling leading to permanent neurological damage, long-term disability, and chronic pain, even in non-fatal cases. And not only that, but the feathered wings on the enemy cause choking and hospitalizations if consumed. So, let's move on to the bee enemy in the level maker series. This enemy is known for their 3mm bee pellets that damage you if touched in the level maker series. But in the how long would you survive after consuming these enemies level in the Demian Deal 849 level maker account, I thought that the bee pellets from the enemy have a length of 9 millimeters. But actually, the length of the bee pellets from the enemy are 3 millimeters instead of 9 millimeters. And here's the truth about the consumption of this enemy in the level maker series. Eating the bee enemy from the level maker series is dangerous, because the bee can sting your mouth or throat, causing dangerous swelling that obstructs your airways, especially if you're allergic to bee venom. And the potential outcomes of swallowing a bee are that if the bee enemy is a worker bee and not an attacker bee, which only exists in real life, it can sting your mouth or throat, causing pain and swelling in your mouth or throat. the swelling in the head and neck, particularly the throat, that can be severe and can compromise the ability to breathe. An allergic reaction called anaphylaxis for the people that have an allergy of that can lead to severe swelling, hives, dizziness, rapid heart rates, and even worse, a drop in blood pressure. So, let's move on to the Bombi enemy. The Bombi enemy from the Level Maker series is known for its explosion that's about 1 centimeter long, and is known for not avoiding groundless terrain, causing it to fall off groundless terrain. But, here's the truth about it. Eating this enemy from the Level Maker series causes Bombi to explode in your mouth before you can even swallow it, causing internal lung damage, choking ash, coughing, and any other symptoms from the consumption of Bombi. So, let's move on to the Skinny TNT enemy. The Skinny TNT enemy does the exact same fate to you as the Bombi enemy, but is 3 millimeters wide and is known for avoiding groundless terrain, but still has the same 1 centimeter explosion as the Bombi enemy. So, let's move on to the Running Android enemy. This enemy is known for avoiding groundless terrain, just like the Skinny TNT enemy that I talked about earlier that avoids groundless terrain. And according to the How Long Would You Survive After Consuming These Enemies level in the WMJ Ideal 849 account, eating this enemy causes electric shocks, because the inside of this enemy contains electric wires that causes electric shocks if consumed, and this enemy is 6 millimeters wide, but here's the truth about it. Consuming the Android enemy from the Level Maker series can lead to electric shocks from the inside of this enemy, and in which, according to my research on Google, it causes common effects from an electric shock from the enemy, such as electrical burns, muscle spasms, cardiac issues, neurological damage, and internal injuries. And even worse, the big-sized Android enemy has higher voltage than a normal-sized Android, and if you consume it, higher voltage levels from the inside of the enemy increases the current's energy and the potential for severe internal electrical burns, and other damage to your body. And even worse, the outer area of the Running Android enemy is made of plastic, and if you consume too much plastic, it causes physical blockages in the digestive system, leading to pain, nausea, the potential to requiring surgery, and even worse, if you swallow around 47 Android enemies without chewing them, and somehow made it to your intestines couldn't keep up with the amount of plastic there is in your intestines, and eventually, causes your intestines to explode, leading to severe pain. So, let's move on to the Fish enemy of the Level Maker series. The Fish enemy from the Level Maker series is known for traveling 8 game units to the left from its starting point, even in the air, or commonly used in underwater levels. But here's the truth about the consumption of the Fish enemy from the Level Maker series. Eating this enemy carries risks of choking, internal injury from burns, and exposure to parasites and bacteria that cause infections and illness. And according to my research on Google, the Fish enemy would most likely die from suffocation or the strong stomach acid within minutes. Even though this isn't a gourmet experience, the main dangers from this enemy are the physical trauma from the struggling fish and the potential for several health issues from pathogens, according to sources like Wikipedia and Quora and my research on Google. So, let's move on to the Trans-Ring Bat. This enemy is known for being trackable in the Level Maker series, and you might think that digesting this enemy releases toxic chemicals in the stomach, but here's the truth about the consumption of this enemy. Eating this enemy carries a significant risk of contracting deadly viruses, as well as potential exposure to neurotoxins from the bat's diet, and according to my research on Google, the cause of this enemy is the disease, and this disease is believed to be caused by neurotoxins, such as beta-methylaminyl-alanine, and sikicin. The toxin accumulates in the bat's bodies, and is then ingested by humans who eat them. So, let's move on to the crab. This enemy from the Level Maker series is known for not being able to defeat if jumped on top, unless if you're defeated with projectiles, and you might think about the cause of illness of this enemy if consumed, but here's the truth about the consumption of this enemy. Eating this enemy carries a high risk of parasitic infections and foodborne illness, which causes severe organ damage and hospitalizations, and according to research on Google, harmful bacteria like Vibrio and the parasites that live inside the crab and can spread towards humans, and you always have to cook it, even if it's alive, or soon after the crab's death. is the safest way to eat them, as the heat destroys the bacteria and inactivates harmful digestive enzymes, according to a YouTube short video in my research on Google. So, let's move on to the spider. This enemy is known for being trackable, just like the trans-wing bat that I said earlier about it, as the trans-sign bat enemy is listed for being the 8th enemy I've mentioned in this video, and you might think that the stomach acid breaks down the proteins in the venom, rendering it harmless, but here's the truth about the consumption of a spider. If you eat this enemy, your digestive system will typically break it down like any other foods, and according to my research on Google, the hydrochloric acid in your stomach will neutralize any venom that's inside the spider, and you may not have a risk of having a literal spider web in your stomach, because a common myth suggests that a live spider could build a web in your stomach. But that's impossible, because the stomach's acidic environment and digestive processes will break the web down. But you might experience mild symptoms similar to a spider bite, such as nausea, dizziness, or a headache. And even if you're allergic to spiders, ingesting one could cause a severe allergic reaction, such as the swelling of the face or throat, difficulty breathing, or dizziness. And you may have to seek medical help in this situation of the consumption of a spider. So, let's move on to the spiked top crab. This enemy will run to the same fate as a regular crab that I explained earlier. So, let's move on to the legged mushroom. This enemy is known for its long blue pants with brown shoes at the bottom of the enemy and a mushroom head. But you might think it seems edible at first because of the edible mushroom in it. But here's the truth about the consumption of this enemy. I know that many mushrooms are edible according to my research on Google, often requiring cooking to be digestible and to remove certain toxins, according to Wikipedia. But if the mushroom is poisonous, the toxins cause varied effects, from gastrointestinal distress to severe organ damage. So, let's move on to the slimer. This enemy is known for having the same ability as the winged snail that I mentioned earlier as the second enemy of this video, and this enemy is known for having 7.5 milliliters of edible slime that's made with food ingredients, such as marshmallows, cornstarch, or gelatin. And you might think you can die from consuming this enemy from the cyanide, but it actually doesn't contain cyanide in it. And here's the truth about the consumption of this enemy. Like I said earlier, I know that this enemy has 7.5 milliliters of edible slime that's made with food ingredients, such as marshmallows, cornstarch, and gelatin. But according to my research on Google, if the slime were inedible, with ingredients like glue and borax, you could experience digestive issues, like nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, and in large quantities, it can be fatal, according to the Missouri Poison Center. So, let's move on to the octopus. The octopus from the Level Maker series is known for being trackable, just like the spiked top crab and the trans-wing bat that I mentioned earlier in this video, and is the last 14th enemy in the How Long Would You Survive After Consuming Those Enemies level that I keep mentioning multiple times. And here's the truth about the consumption of a live octopus. According to my research on Google, eating a live octopus is extremely dangerous, with the primary risk of death by choking and asphyxiation. This can happen even with a dead octopus, or if it's chopped into pieces, as its neural activity allows the tentacles to continue moving and suction cups to cling to surfaces. And now, to the more enemies list, a list from this video that features other enemies from the Level Maker series that I didn't feature in the How Long Would You Survive After Consuming Those enemies level in the WMJ 849 Level Maker count. In this list, I'll list more enemies that exist in the Level Maker series. So, the first one I'm going to mention is the Venus flytrap. This enemy is known for dying from the contact of the player that has the chili pepper power-up, but here's the truth about it. According to my research on Google, if you eat a Venus flytrap, nothing significant will happen, as its traps are essentially modified leaves that can be digested like any other plant. Although you might experience a taste of this enemy similar to a soap bark, Venus flytraps are vulnerable in the wild, and are often protected in the wild, so eating one could contribute to their decline, something to expect: the digestion, taste, and no physical harm of the plant, but it isn't recommended to eat it at all. You see, Venus flytraps are vulnerable in the wild due to habitat loss and illegal harvesting for the pet trade, and eating them contributes to this pressure. and according to my research on Google, some people even find the idea of eating the plant they care for, or any plant, ethically problematic. So, let's move on to the Thrum. This enemy is known for crushing brick blocks if hit twice, and if done, they can either give you a projectile, enemy, item, or nothing inside the brick blocks, and in fact, they can even hit prize boxes with projectiles, enemy, item, or nothing inside in a single hit, and has spikes on each side on the enemy except that the top part of the enemy is safe to stand on since it has no spikes. But here's the truth about the consumption of this enemy. This enemy weighs approximately 3 ounces, 85 grams, and is dyed with red paint, and if consumed, can cause severe medical problems, including internal blockage, poisoning, and internal bleeding, because according to my research on Google, a dyed 3-ounce rock is large enough to get stuck in your digestive tract, causing a life-threatening blockage, a jagged and sharp rock that can puncture the lining of your esophagus, stomach, or intestines, leading to internal bleeding, infections, and sepsis, a choking hazard that's caused by the rock easily getting lodged in the throat and a blockage in the airway, causing suffocation, and an extremely painful elimination. So, let's move on to any pink alien that exists in the series. Any pink alien from the Level Maker series has around 8 milliliters of inedible pink goo, which is referred to as pink mold, making them dangerous to eat and can lead to bacterial poisoning, gastrointestinal issues, and infections, especially for vulnerable people. And the pirate enemy will run to the same abilities as the pink aliens, but doesn't contain pink goo, unlike the pink aliens in which contain 8 milliliters of pink goo in their bodies. So, let's move on to the dragon. This enemy is known for shooting out 1 fire projectile per second, but here's the truth about the consumption of this enemy. This enemy is around 3 to 4 inches wide, and 3 inches in length, giving it a total area of around 9 to 12 square inches, and this enemy weighs approximately 35 pounds, 560 ounces, making it the heaviest enemy in the series. So if you consume large quantities of this enemy, it can lead to digestive issues, such as bloating and diarrhea. So, let's move on to any boss that exists in the series. This includes bosses like the Ancestor, and they're considered too bossy to eat because they weigh 26 pounds, 416 ounces, and eating any large quantities of any boss in the Level Maker series causes digestive issues, like bloating and diarrhea, giving them the same survival rate as the dragon enemy that I talked about earlier. And lastly, let's move on to the mole. This enemy is known for being the only non-colorable enemy that exists in the Level Maker series, but here's the truth about eating one. Eating this enemy causes severe illness from parasites, bacteria, or poisoning if the enemy has consumed toxins. According to my research on Google, and moles are known carriers of rabies, which can be transmitted through your saliva. So anyways guys, that's the end of this video. Goodbye, and see you for the next video on how long you would survive after eating each projectile that exists in the Level Maker app, titled How Long Would You Survive After Eating Each LM Projectile, and this video premieres on October 10th, 2025.